Go on.
Mark was 1, 2, 3.
Go.
Good morning, distinguished members of the community. You are welcome to the 7th in the series of the webinar of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. I am Mrs. Dawodu, the Acting Registrar of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. The topic of discussion this morning is formal administrative communication in Funaab. I will start by doing an introduction. For any organization, there has to be a management which oversees the affairs of the system, and Funaab is no exception. In this wise, management entails how business organizes and directs workflow, operations, employees, and relates with external bodies to meet organizational goals. Thus, communication is the key to the directing function of management. In this wise, directives are to be well communicated to achieve success. The importance of communication in administration cannot be overemphasized, as it facilitates planning, decision-making, coordination, and motivation in an organization. Communication is the imparting or exchange of information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium. It applies to the exchange of ideas and thoughts within two or more individuals. This can be done through writing, speech, gestures, symbols, or written communication. Furthermore, good communication encourages participation, which goes a long way to building consensus. And more importantly, timely information is essential to communication, as delayed information may not make a meaningful impact. In furtherance of the above, I will talk on administrative communication, which is the exchange of information and messages within an organization or between an organization and its external stakeholders. Effective administrative communication can enhance productivity, collaboration, customer satisfaction, and organizational reputation. One can communicate either internally or externally. Internal communication is a process of exchanging information and messages within an organization, while external communication is the process of exchanging information within with an external body. The information and messages between the organization and its external stakeholders are in form of customer services, suppliers, or investors. In the case of this university, our external stakeholders who we relate with are the Federal Ministry of Education, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Security, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, National Universities Commission, JAMB, NYC, and employers of our graduates. The information and messages between the... Before I go further, I would like to say something about formal communication. Formal communication is that which is related to work. In this instance, the superiors need to communicate with their subordinates as they need to impart to them information in terms of work duties, other aspects of the organization. Furthermore, formal communication refers to the flow of official information through proper, predefined channels and routes. In this wise, the flow of information is controlled and needs deliberate efforts to be properly communicated. In the same vein, formal communication is the exchange of official information between two or more people within the same organization as well as external bodies by following predefined rules and using channels of communication, and this is mostly done in written form. For the purpose of clarity, formal communication is also known as official communication, while informal communication is known as grapevine communication. Examples of formal communication are business letters, reports, order, incident a power outage. Why the power outage was. Then the recent circular that was issued based on series of thefts on the campus, which had to do with wearing of identity cards on campus, that the security personnel can stop anybody and demand for your ID card. That's kind of downward flow of information. The upward communication is the process in which employees provide feedback to their managers and company leadership. This type of feedback can help managers avoid losing key talents, avoidance of chaos, as well as achieve better results by restructuring process. I want to give an example of this upward communication. Not too long ago, the student union body came to management to have a meeting with the management, and through that interaction, the student union body stated that it went round all the hostels to see what the students were going through, and then it provided a feedback to the management, which we averted of information. The upward communication, it could have gone, it could have escalated to something more than what we envisaged, but because of the feedback that the management got, management too swung into action and provided all the things that the students needed. So the upward communication is a sort of feedback from the lower level to the upper level. Horizontal communication occurs between employees at different levels within the organization for the information to be keyed into the nominal role, so that at any point in time when the personnel records puts its hand in its records, it will show straight away that so person has been granted leave of absence for so period. Then I'll go to horizontal communication, which occurs between employees at different levels within the organization. It is the transmission of information between people, divisions, departments, or units within the same level of organizational hierarchy. A typical example is the exchange of communication between the establishment matters unit. Then diagonal communication, it is sometimes called crosswise communication, which combines vertical communication and involves an employee and supervisor of a higher rank within the same team, and horizontal communication, which involves employee of the same rank within an organization. This crosses all organizational units and hierarchical levels. Such communication involves staff members of different departments interacting with each other, regardless of their reporting relationships. This can be likened to the committee system in the university. This brings me to the topic of discussion, which is formal administrative communication. For this purpose, formal administrative communication means the channel of communication between the staff and management, between management and its external bodies, and formal communication involves official communication channels like memoranda, emails, business letters, reports, presentations, and meetings. It requires strict adherence to a code of conduct, which includes specific formats, that is style of writing. We have a specific style of writing our request in Funaab. Then the language conventions, for our own purpose here, it is English language. And then it needs professional etiquette, which provides for proper addressing. For example, superiors are to be addressed as sir or ma. I cannot just stand up and want to address the vice chancellor and say you. No, that is wrong. All I have to say is the vice chancellor, sir. So this helps to establish a clear hierarchy and team accountability, which ensures smooth information flow. It is important that formal communication be done through some sort of channels, which brings us to communication channels. The communication channels include both verbal and non-verbal cues, as well as written documents. A large portion of communication is non-verbal, which can make certain channels more effective than others. In today's workplace, digital technology also provides many online channels of communication that can connect employees from all over the world. These online channels include email, phone calls, instant messaging, live chat, text messages, blogs, intranet. When you are communicating to management, it should be in memo form. But at times, if it has to do with you've been given permission to run a program, and you are seeking for a permission to run a program, that can come in form of a letter to management seeking permission to run the program, and this has to go through your head of department. The head of department must make specific comments or recommendations on the request before it is passed on to management for further processing. Then I'll go to email, electronic messages, exchange between individuals and groups, receiving attachments and contacting larger groups in an environment like the one I'm doing this morning. Then meetings, another means of communication in Funaab. A meeting is a formal discussion held in a structured setting with a predefined time, agenda, and participants. And following the conclusion of a meeting, decision extracts are pulled out for quick implementation. If a meeting is held and no decision extracts are pulled out, the purpose of the meeting will be nullity, because it is only when the decision extracts are pulled out and presented to management that implementations can be made on the outcome of the meeting. It should be noted that other means of communication like text messaging, WhatsApp messaging are used for conveying information because of speed, cost effectiveness, and ease of use, even though not formal, but in use based on reality of times. When you have a meeting tomorrow, you can quickly send text messages or WhatsApp messages to those who are to come for the meeting. It is not an informal means of communication, but it is used, readily available for use, and we take advantage of the reality of times that we are in now. To facilitate workflow and operations in the university, there must be a delineated communication channel so as not to cause confusion. To this end, the existing communication channel in Funaab, as practiced over time, will be run through now. First, principal officers, deans, directors of academic centers, and non-teaching directors are required to make official requests directly to the Vice Chancellor. That is the practice now. That is the practice. It is not written anywhere, but it is the practice. While other staff and head of non-teaching units make officials through personal requests through the respective dean, director, head of department, stroke unit, as the case may be, to the registrar. It is expected that the officer that the request is routed through should make specific comments and recommendations on the request before appending his or her signature to it for further processing. For students, request is routed through the head of department and the dean to the appropriate authority. And any request from the student union body must be routed through the dean, student affairs, to the appropriate authority. Likewise for associations on campus. If any association wishes to make any request to the appropriate authority, the secretary, the president of the association, and the secretary, they should append their signature on the request before it goes to the appropriate authority that the request is being forwarded to. It should be noted that there are instances that those that are listed in the first category, that is the principal officers, deans, directors of academic centers, non-teaching directors, they make their official or personal requests directly to the registrar in case they want to make reference, they want to seek for reference to external body. Like you are requesting for to go to the embassy, the principal officer, DVC development, DVC ACAD, they make their request to the registrar directly that they require a letter from the university to be able to go to the embassy for visa appointment. Request a processing of communication. I want to say that most of the requests were made either directly to the Vice Chancellor or to the registrar through the appropriate authority are usually processed through the registry, except financial matters which are handled by the bursary. And it is not worthy of note that requests must be submitted for it to pass through the necessary process for communication to be made. Because if there is no communication on the request, one may be running foul of the regulation. What I'm trying to say is that once you make a request, you must give ample time for the process to run through, for communication to be made to you. Like you requested for annual leave. You requested last week. The annual leave was to start on Monday, 15th of April, and as at today, being 17th of April, you have not been communicated with the approval of the leave request. If you go on that leave, you have run foul of the regulation. So that is why it is necessary when you are making requests, you give ample time for the request to be processed, for you to be communicated with an approver or otherwise, because it's not everything that you request for that can be granted as an approval. There are times where you make a request, it is turned down, but you need to be communicated with the information before you can proceed on the request you have made. In the same vein, it should be noted that the channel of communication is structured in a way that no matter the start of the information flow, responses are communicated through the registrar, be it internal or external, except in very rare situations where the Vice Chancellor acts in this wise. Every communication from the university to the external body must be done by the registrar. It is within the purview of the registrar. It is not for anybody to write from his unit or her department to NYC. If you have any request to be put before the NYC, you have to make the request to the registrar. When the VC has given an approval, then it is the registrar that will communicate the approval to the external body. Likewise to NUC or any other external stakeholders that we deal with. And lastly, I want to conclude by saying that communication is important as it conveys meaningful information between a sender and a receiver, with understanding being the ultimate goal. And it is in this regard that it is necessary to follow proper procedure and channels of communication for effective flow of information. I want to sincerely thank you for your attention. Thank you so much for listening to me.